So, welcome to MIT Solve. If you're new to Solve, we're an initiative of MIT. We believe that to achieve a more sustainable and equitable future, we need new voices and ideas like yours. So, we launch open calls like the Global Challenges to find exceptional and diverse solutions to global challenges across economic prosperity, health, learning, climate, and solutions that serve Indigenous communities in the US and Canada. New voices. So to date with our global challenges, we have over 330 solver teams that have been selected and supported through our program. Sorry, if you're not speaking, yes, please mute. Thank you. So that includes over 50 fellows selected for our Indigenous Communities Fellowship. And to date, 95% of the solutions that we've selected are operational, with about 2/3 of those being for-profit and about 1/3 being nonprofit. What I always say is for Solve, if you have an incredible idea, but don't know if you would be ready yet for Solve, we really encourage you to apply. Many of the solvers that I've met in the past said, "Oh, I didn't think I would be selected," or if I didn't know if this would be the right fit. So when in doubt, always encourage you to apply, and we'll go into some of the, application and the eligibility criteria in a little bit as well. A global reach. So we to date have gotten over 23,000 applications from all over the globe. As you can see, we tend to get many from North America and Sub-Saharan Africa, but welcome for you all anywhere around the world to apply, with the exception of countries that are embargoed to the US. Wonderful. Global Challenges timeline. So to give you a sense of where we're at in the process, we've launched the challenges, and the challenges are actually closing, as you all might be aware, next week, April 17th. So we're currently in the phase of gathering the solutions to apply. Next, what we'll do is Solve will go through a screening process to review all the solutions. We'll then have the solutions reviewed by a committee of judges, external experts, and other experts at MIT across the wide variety of pillar focus areas that we have. Then for innovators that are selected to join our finalist round, that's 15 solutions per challenge. We'll have a round of pitches and interviews with the judges, and then select our final solver cohort, which will be around 6 solvers per challenges, so 30 in total. For those who are selected as solvers, they'll be invited to participate at and expected actually to attend Solve Challenge Finals, which is our in-person event in New York City, and will then undergo a support program with us for 9 months, getting tailored workshop support, coaching, opportunities to network and interact with other members of Solve's community. And the capstone event for the Solver Support Program is Solve at MIT in May, which convenes in person, typically on MIT's campus, as a celebration of all that our solvers have accomplished, and also another way to get to network with the community as well. So our global challenges, realize many of you are already well aware, but just wanted to quickly go over the 5 challenges we have this year that close next week for applications. So we have economic prosperity, that's the one I work on. We have learning with my colleague Eliza, climate challenge with my colleague Katie, health with Noelle, who's on the call, and then our Indigenous Communities Fellowship with my colleague Erin. I should mention we're also hosting specific Indigenous Communities Fellowship application clinics, and those will be recorded as well if you'd like to learn more. So solutions, what type of solutions are we looking for? Um, we're seeking really innovative, human-centered solutions. They need to be technology-based, which I can get to in a minute. But we're looking for, really a diverse portfolio of solutions in terms of geography, stage of development. That can be prototype onwards for most of our challenges, and concept stage onwards for our Indigenous Communities Fellowship. So we encourage folks, whether you think of yourself as, an entrepreneur or a leader or not, to consider submitting your solution to our global challenges. What stage should the solution be? As I mentioned, you're allowed to submit solutions for any of the following stages: concept, prototype, pilot, growth, or scale. However, it's important to note that concept solutions, so those who don't yet have a working prototype, will not be selected for our health, climate, learning, and economic prosperity challenges. And how do we view technology? At MIT, technology is a huge part of what we're focused on, and we define technology very broadly. So this can be a hard tech solution using AI, using machine learning. It can also be a technology that's traditional or ancestral, like using centuries old irrigation building techniques, or technologies that are found in the environment around you. Wonderful. And sorry if anyone is posting questions in the chat. I'll be sure to get to those at the end as well. Just can't see the chat with my slides as easily. But I know Noelle, my colleague, is also posting helpful links there to learn more. So if you're a solver, what do you get? What does winning this competition or challenge mean? It means that you get $10,000 in prize money from Solve. It means that you're eligible to receive additional prizes. So on the challenge pages, there's a tab that you can see that features the different prizes that you would be eligible for. And the way that works is, upon being selected as a finalist, you'll then be asked to submit more information for each specific prize. So that's not something you have to worry about as much in this phase of the application. It's something that will reach out to teams as they advance through the selection process later this year. So what else? There's a full support program run by my colleague Eliana, which includes tailored capacity building workshops, leadership coaching from a fantastic executive and leadership coach, access to different types of, free or discounted resources such as software licenses and legal services. It includes monitoring and evaluation support, and a network of people in Solve's community who really want to see our solvers succeed. So whether that's judges for the challenges, other supporters, or mentors, we like to make as many of those introductions as we can to relevant folks in our network. It also means having access to the 2 flagship events in New York and in Cambridge, and exposure to various media and speaking opportunities. You'll also be connected with, the other cohort of the 2025 Global Challenge winners, along with our cohort of Solver alumni as well. So we like to say, once a solver, always a solver. So even after the formal support program, you would still receive access to the in-kind resources, exposure, and invitations to select virtual and in-person events. Great. So now let's get a bit more into the nitty-gritty of the application. Realize that's probably why a lot of you are here, and look forward to answering your specific questions about the application. So, as many of you have already done, but if you have not, you can log in, creating a profile to Solve's platform. And the first thing you'll do is click Start Solution, and then sort of click on which application you're choosing to submit a solution for. So you can either be applying as an individual or as a team. And if you apply as a team, there's options to invite other team members to help you work on the application ahead of next week's deadline. We do just ask that your team lead for the solution be the person who is the leader of your organization or your work. So whether that be the CEO or the executive director, it should be the person who's representing your solution at our in-person events, on our program calls, etc., if selected. So the different parts of the application, there's several parts of the application that are required and parts that are optional. However, we really ask or suggest rather that you answer as many of the questions as possible. We find that, the most successful applicants are the ones that fill out the application more fully and complete a lot of the optional questions as well. Also, as if you've already been working on your application, be sure to budget enough time. Folks tend to say it takes several hours to submit the full application. And we encourage you, although the application is saved automatically, to submit it as soon as your work is done. You can always go back in and edit the application, but just want to make sure all your work is saved. And if you're working in an area where your internet or connection is less reliable, also encourage you to work sort of offline on your application answers and then paste them in once everything is complete. Last but not least, we see all the time that you've linked to a brilliant YouTube pitch video or Vimeo pitch video. Just be sure that the settings are toggled on, that anyone can view the video. Sometimes what happens is we see there's a video, but we can't watch it. And we definitely want to be able to, view your virtual pitch if you choose to submit one. So once you've gone through the application and answered all the questions, you just click Review and then Submit Solution. If there's any part of your application that is missing, you won't be allowed to submit the application. So it'll indicate to you which questions you have not yet addressed. So you'll have until the deadline, April 17th at noon, to submit your solution. However, we do really encourage you to submit it ahead of time. Our team is small but mighty, and in case you have any last-minute technical difficulties, we want to make sure as many of those are addressed in advance so we can make sure to address everyone's concerns ahead of the deadline period, as your solution will not be accepted after the deadline. And also keep in mind that your solution will be publicly viewable on Solve's platform after submitting. So what are we looking for in, a successful application to our global challenges? Several different pieces to start. Alignment, so making sure that your solution is well aligned with the challenge question and making sure that you're using technology to address one of the topics. We're going to look to make sure that your solution has the actual potential to impact the intended population that you're wanting to serve or already serving. So for this question, we'll be looking at your theory of change and some other application questions as well. We'll also want to make sure that your solution is feasible so that you have a realistic, practical plan for implementing your solution and that it's feasible in the given context where you're working. We're looking at taking an innovative approach. So this can mean that you're using a new technology or more commonly, a new application of technology, or you have a new business model or process for solving the challenge. So say you're using an existing technology like a large language model. However, you're using it to serve a community that has not yet been served with this type of technology, or you're taking a new business model to approach a new population. Those are all things that we look for. And then last but not least, human-centered design. We will want to see that your solution is designed with and for underserved communities, and that your team demonstrates proximity, or that they have the experience and the relationships, the data and the knowledge to be able to serve this community responsibly. Then if you're advancing in the selection process and are considered for the finalist stage, we'll also be looking at if your solution is scalable, if it has partnership potential. In other words, if it would benefit from the types of resources and connections that our Solve community can provide. And last but not least, that it's technically feasible. So for any solutions with a particularly complex or novel technology, we occasionally go through an additional technical feasibility interview process just to ensure that the technology works or would work in the way that you claim it does in your application. So a couple of tips. I think we've already gone over some of these, but just to reiterate, do take the time to also complete those optional questions. We find that, those who answer most or all of them are most likely to be selected. And take a look at the help text within, many of the questions have help text with either links or guides to best answer those questions. So encourage you to take a look at those examples and those help text options as well. And then some resources. I know Noelle's been dropping these in the chat, but if you're on the fence on whether this is the right challenge for you, you can take our eligibility quiz. You can take the MIT X course, Business and Impact Planning for Social Impact Enterprises, to help you strengthen your application. And we encourage you to check out the Become a Solver page. It gives more details on everything we've talked about now. It answers a lot of the frequently asked questions and goes through the criteria that the judges will be using. Cool. So just some other quick questions, or quick answers to some of your quick questions. We already discussed, encourage you to submit your application and complete it as soon as possible. You are allowed to apply to multiple challenges. So say you have a solution that is both health and economic prosperity related. You're allowed to apply to both. We will just ask if you advance in the selection process for both of those challenge topics, that you will eventually have to just pick one to apply to. The time commitment, if you're selected as a solver, is roughly around 25 hours in total over 9 months. So that includes participating in coaching, in workshops, in attending virtual events. And typically we like to say, you get as much into the program as you put into it. So we find that folks who invest a lot in attending all the optional programs are often the ones who, feel like the program gave them a lot of the tools that they need to succeed and amplify the impact of their solutions. So some final reminders. Deadline is next week. Your answers will be visible on your solution profile after we do our initial screening process. So keep that in mind and know that there are some questions, as indicated, that will just be for internal use only. A word about ChatGPT. Generative AI chatbots can be helpful as you draft something or work through an idea. However, we really do discourage you from, using just Chat GPT to write the application for you. It tends to make the application feel less personal. And so by all means, you're welcome to use it as an aid, but we don't want to see applications that are fully, crafted and generated by AI. We want to hear from you in your own words. And then review the Become a Solver page after this, or review the recording afterwards. Both those are helpful resources. And just don't wait last minute to submit your application. We're more available to help with questions this week and early next week rather than right on Thursday when the deadline comes up. So I think that is it. Would love for you all. This is a lovely picture from our Solve Challenge Finals event in New York City. So hope to see some of you there this year, hopefully selected as solvers. But that is it on the presentation side of things. And we can now dive into questions.